Hello, good morning viewers. Welcome to KSP Contracting episode 13, where we continue straight on from episode 12. I'm trying to wrangle this asteroid into a lower Kerman orbit, and currently we're trying to align the thrust vector with the center of mass of the asteroid. To do that I have unlocked the pivot of the grabber arm, and I'm now trying to nudge the prograde vector to the center of mass indicator here. And it seems as though that might not be working. Or maybe it is working and we just need a little bit more patience. But the asteroid is small enough that it's rotating already due to my efforts here. So I'm not sure if I can keep chasing this. If I do, I might incur more rotation than I would like. What I could do is detach from the asteroid and just approach it again. But now that I've set it spinning, that would be difficult. So what I'm going to try to do is lock the pivot again, enable the stability system and the RCS to arrest the rotation of the whole asteroid. That should exhaust some of the RCS propellant, but we have a lot of it. So I'm going to try and loosen that up. No, that's not what I'm going to try. I'm going to try to stop this rotation and then release the pivot and redock in a different place where I might be a little bit more aligned with the center of mass already. I think this will do it. Let's see. Release the pivot. Well, release the arm actually. And let's thrust backwards a little bit. And let's now target the center of mass with the whole ship basically, and then just plug it in there. Hopefully that works out. So here we go. SAS on. Is this now armed? It is armed. So let's punch it in. Here we go. And the problem with this approach vector, of course, is that it's very slanted, so we're probably going to run into the exact same problem as we did before, which is that we will not grab it straight onto the face we're approaching, and we will be offset a lot again. But maybe it won't happen, and maybe it will. Yes, that's a lot better at any rate. That's a lot better. So let's see if we now, by freeing the pivot, can actually bring this in line. Let's see, this is starting to look like something. So now I want to lock the pivot. Yeah. This is resembling control at any rate. So now we need to switch to orbit relative mode and see if we can't turn this whole thing onto a proper retrograde trajectory and then fire the engines for a bit. Let's try that now. Full on burning. And let's ask the SAS system to keep us on this heading. We still have fuel, and let's see what our orbit is doing. It is shrinking, it is working, we are piloting an asteroid. Wonderful, that never gets old. And this asteroid fortunately is small enough, it's only C-class, so that this slightly offset center of thrust can be controlled by do these engines gimbal? Yeah, by these gimbaling engines and the monopropellant, of which we still have more than half of our reserves remaining. So that should be all right. Let's see. Let's see if we can get this into a proper low orbit, at least an orbit so that it makes one properly low pass. I don't need it to be in a circular, like 200 kilometer orbit, but it would be nice if it could be very elliptical, and that way we can get some extra science from the rock as well, where Hudbert can do an EVA and well get data from the asteroid as it's close to Kerman. I think we might be able to pull that off. Our fuel is still doing good. And of course we need a little bit of fuel still remaining to well, actually deorbit Hudbert and have him save the science. but as long as we get this end close to the planet, that should not require too much propellant at all. Our mission time is now 20 days almost, well 19 and a half day, and you might be thinking 3 days, 3 hours, is that a half day? It is in Kerbal times, where a day is 6 hours, or was it 8? I forget. Anyway, this is Kerbal space time, which is strange compared to ours at any rate. So, as you might recall, we can do a launch every 30 days, so as soon as this is done, I'm going to launch a second part of the multi-part, multi-contractor Duna vehicle. Artblaze has resubmitted some of his craft and they should probably work this time. So before that happens though, let's finish the business with this asteroid. I think we can get it all the way to crash on the planet. We're not going to do that, we're benevolent celestial masters. So no city crushing going on today. I think 300 kilometers is a nice target to aim for. Let's see. 300 kilometers might intersect the orbit of the to be assembled Duna vehicle, but we'll not worry about that for now. So 300 kilometers, there we go. And once we are there, we shall expend most of the fuel trying to trim this orbit into well, a lower one. But we won't use everything because of course Hudbert needs to come home as well. Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that. Okay, here we are dragging an asteroid across the plains of Kerman. Some people might call it irresponsible, we call it cool. So now of course it's time to turn this asteroid around, and if I had a ship that had less RCS capability, I might choose to, well, the sun is going all haywire there, anyway, I might choose to uncouple the ship, move it to the other side of the asteroid and then recouple it there. But we have a large ship, the asteroid is not too heavy, and we have the RCS we have the RCS to spare to do it well, let's call it the brute force way, where we just turn the whole assembly around. Now I have to take care not to completely deplete all of the fuel, because as I said before, we still need some of it to, well, to get back to the planet. Although the RCS would probably suffice for that. Yeah, I can just exhaust all the fuel. That is a dangerous proposition indeed. But I'm going to count how much RCS do we have left? Yes, I'm going to count on that the RCS will be sufficient to deorbit from whatever altitude this is going to end up being. And if not, then nothing is lost. We can still mount a rescue mission because this is not a horribly inaccessible orbit. So, apart from the pretty vista here, the space rock over Kerman, there's not a lot of interesting things going on here, so I'm going to cut the video until this fuel has burned out. See you then. And here we are. The fuel isn't even depleted yet, but the orbit is becoming very, very accessible indeed. The periapsis is dropping below 240 kilometers, which is good because 320 apparently still counts as high space over Kerman, with an apoapsis of 420. So we're going to look at this. Let's target this periapsis for a height of 150 kilometers. Very, very accessible indeed, and you can feel free to accept this invitation to build craft that will make this asteroid into a home, an asteroid base. Yes, I think that's a good idea. Anyway, let's cut that out. Turns out this KPRR Graboid was the perfect vessel for the job of this asteroid, because look at that, we have a small amount of fuel remaining, perfect for bringing Hudbert home. We have the asteroid in a, well, I can say it one more time, very, very accessible orbit of 376 kilometers by 148 in a almost polar orbit, so that should be nice. For now I'm going to time warp to the periapsis to do Hudbert science there. Hudbert science. To let Hudbert do science. He doesn't have his own brand of it. So, let's have a look how that will shake out. Here we have the asteroid. It's dark. Fortunately we do have lights, which you all seem to love. Amazing. And are we in fact in space? close over Kerman already. Crew report near Kerman. Wonderful. So we can EVA and grab more asteroid data from this space rock. Can we plant the flag on it? No. 60 science from this one as well. Wonderful. So with that, he can say goodbye to the asteroid and get back into his spaceship. And now all that remains, well, we shall wait until we are at the apoapsis for that, and of course also in the daylight. All that remains now is to get back to the planet and deliver that science safely. So there we are. Apoapsis, of course the most efficient point to lower your periapsis and do a controlled entry into the Kerman atmosphere. Release the clamps. Not the Kraken, release the clamps. So here we go, saying goodbye to this magnificent celestial space rock, which can now be claimed by our space station city builders. Let's say goodbye to it by blasting it with our exhaust. Bye. And we are accelerating in the wrong direction, so let's turn around one more time, say goodbye to the asteroid one last time, because we don't want to blast back to it. And let's engage those retrograde thrusters. There we go. And this should... Whoa! That was really close. Oh dear. Hudport had no idea how close he came to dying. That's going to be an instant replay. Right, so I hope that replay went successful and that I remembered to do it. Let's see, we are in fact in a fairly steep re-entry corridor. That means we can ditch the asteroid towing stage. Let's do so now. I think that ditched it anyway. No, that ditched it. This looks like a fearsome re-entry pod with the claw here, and we can do the lights, of course. Ooh, look at that. Oh, look, it's a strobe light. Nice. Anyway, enough dicking around. Let's take that baby home. Oh yeah, we're going retrograde. That's what I forgot. And this is an asteroid once again, now in orbit of the planet. Can't say that often enough. So look at that. Here we go. La 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 la. Completely safe re-entry, of course, due to the absence of deadly re-entry heating, which is nice and comfortable. And we're coming down over an area where I don't think I've ever landed here before. So new ground in many ways. So here we go. Lots of G-forces for poor Hudbird. Lots of frame rate forces for me. Don't know what I'm saying. Here we go. Let's pop that parachute. We're 10, 12 Gs, still 1.5 kilometers per second. Let's do the parachute. Not quite yet. I'm afraid to do that too early. Even though I don't think anything can happen without these realism mods. I think well, it could deploy in that and rip itself apart, but I don't think that happens above the deploy altitude. Anyway, here we go. Parachutes deployed. Just the one. That's risky. That's risky. Fortunately, Hudbird is completely fine with that. And I think we learned another time that time acceleration is fine. I still don't dare rely on it though, so I'm going to cut that back while we pass the magic 500 meter threshold. Of course it's not magic, but that's where the parachute is set to deploy. So let's have a gander at that. I don't know what's happening, but 4 frames per second are not a lot of frames per second. Incidentally, I'm going to ring up the computer store this afternoon, tell them to ship it without the GPU so that I can, well, have part of my new toys to play with. In other public service announcements, I have decided to stick to somewhat of a release schedule for these videos. It's going to be Monday, Wednesday and Friday. So expect videos on those days and not necessarily in between. Should I rack up more than a few videos in advance, I will of course release them because there's no use sitting on them. Oh, look at that, we're coming down right next to the tree. And what I will do always is update the persistence.sfs file. So if there is a few videos, in store, you can get a sneak peek sort of by checking out that file and seeing if anything is amiss in that. So let's now do the science, and then I will quit the game to see what is up with this horrendous frame rate, because this is not good. Kerman's grasslands, 1.5 science points, and let's get some samples from the outside as well. The vistas are quite good, but the frame rates really aren't. And well, as I said before, I don't know why that is. There's nothing else is running. This should be doing fine, but alas, it's not. Yeah, I'm not even going to do the surface sample with this. I'm going to cut the video and see if I can fix that. Be right back. Yeah, so what we have now is somewhat better, but not quite. So I'm going to recover the vessel, restart my computer, and have another go at it then. Yeah, I don't think I can get back into the crew hatch. That means a separate recovery for Kerbal and vessel, which is fine. Maybe a scene switch will fix the frame rate. I don't know what's up. None of these things should plague me once I get my new machine, which has 16 gigabytes of RAM, more than enough for Kerbal Space Program, and plenty of processing and SSD power, I should say. So maybe it's fixed upon a new scene load. Let's check that first. So let's recover the Graboid, recover that. And that's actually 121 science. That's good. It's nice. So with that, let's move on to the R&D facility to spend that. That's this one here. And what are we looking at? You guys were wanting for RAM intakes. Let's have a look if we can get that. Where sorry about that. Where we can find those. Not here. Turbojet engine and the RAM air intake, 300 science, and we have 163, so we can't get them just yet. And our next science is probably going to be a big bundle, so I'm going to get one of these before that. This is small probes. We don't really have a use for that, I don't think. This is expandable. Solar panels, which are good. Deployable, also nice. And this does larger capsules and parachutes. I'm going to go for the expandable solar panels. There we go. Research that. And now, of course, comes what we usually do at the beginning of the episode, is the time warping to the next launch window and the tracking of a fresh asteroid. So let's do the latter first, where we track a new asteroid, and it is going to be this one. Let's see, track that. And that will come fairly close. Kerman encounter, Kerman escape. Doesn't say, it doesn't show a periapsis. Does that mean this is an impact trajectory? Well, we shall look at that. We shall look at that in due time. This is 246 days. In that time we should be able to have a deflection mission. Right, this is only a class B though, so that should be easy. Probably Jebediah on Overwatch could even do that. So let's scan our remaining asteroids for possible encounters. This one is going to whiz by Kerman in 29 days. We do have an asteroid already in orbit. We might send Jeb out here to do science from this one. But this one, ooh, this one is going to come really close in 15 days. 16 days? Oh wow, it's going to get busy. 18 days. This one is the new one. This is going to be impacting, I think, in 240 days. Anyway, we have 9 days of time warping before we can launch. So let's do that before anything else. Here we go. And if we look at the Kerman system now, are there asteroids in here? Currently, no. So we can do our launch, and then we can have Jebediah in the asteroid watcher, the Chimera that was. We can have him at the ready. Oh wow, you can get maneuver nodes in the tracking station. That's nice. We can have him on overwatch for any nearby asteroids. Wait, is this an asteroid that has just captured by itself? We didn't do that, I don't think. Maybe it's in the sphere of influence and will leave on its own accord again. We shall see once we get into the flight scene. First things first though, we have an asteroid already. These things do not pose an impact hazard. So we are going to launch part of the Duna ship. If the newly submitted submissions do in fact allow themselves to be loaded in the non-modded game. So let's have a look at that. Where is that? The Juna drive by Artplay. Yeah. This is the one. I think this is meant to be the drive section, as the name implies. And what do we have here? We have a big booster core. And a... Ooh, wow. Oh, this is probably meant to be put in orbit, and then we can jettison the probe core, upon which we can then attach the lander on top here. And something else behind. And then these two engines can do the boost. Yeah, that seems reasonable. And it's unmanned. That seems even more reasonable. Wonderful. So, I'm going to put this on the launch pad and show you an expedited launch, because this episode is running quite long already. So, let's go. So here we have it on the launch pad, the Juna drive. Simplistic in nature, just boosters and an upper stage. And as I said before, because the video is running quite long already, this will be an expedited launch sequence. So here we have the main stack. Booster separation. Wow, that was close. Anyway, that was booster separation, and we're moving on to... Well, I was going to say that we're moving on to a gravity turn, but the rocket doesn't appear to have enough thrust to lift itself. So I think we're gonna have to ignite the... I need another stage here, guys. I want to ignite these engines, but I need another stage for that. We are falling. This cannot have been part of the design. Stage does appears to be locked. I thought you could add stages in flight nowadays, but that doesn't seem to work. This is a problem. We are plummeting. This stage is almost out of fuel. So can I light them manually? I'm going to cut thrust for that for a second. Oh wait, something is wrong. The ship has broken apart. Oh, that's a problem. We have... Oh, when the boosters hit the stack on booster separation, something happened. Right. There's not a lot we can do about this now. Oh yeah, the electric charge ran out when this got disconnected, so we can't control the top half. That is indeed a problem. There's nothing we can do about this. This booster is going to slowly boost until... Hey, it still reads as attached to the ship, but... Or does this just not generate any electricity? Oh, that's it. This booster, it's still attached, everything is still fine, but these engines don't have an alternator, they don't generate electricity, and the probe has used up all of its electricity. That, I'm sorry to say, is a design flaw that makes this craft unpilotable, and as such it is going to crash. Perhaps these engines were meant to be switched on during the boost as well, but yeah, they weren't. That is a problem. So now this fully fueled Juna drive stage is going to crash on top of the, well, what appears to be the spaceplane hangar. Fortunately, there is no Kerbals involved, But this is one of the larger Kerbal disasters. Redesigns are of course permitted, but for now there is no drive stays with the Juna Endeavor. Oh, look at that. There is stuff going everywhere. Yes, this is the turnout of that mission. Fortunately no asteroids, but some rocket parts impacting the Kerbal Space Center. And with that I'm going to sign off on this episode. This was KSP Contracting. I'm Lorenzo. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.